I'm at 4669 Largo Drive in Kenwood, Blue Ash area, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, basically anything that would be of concern to the buyer. Our access here is a floor clean out right inside the door here. There is some cast iron under the ground up to this point. I believe it may be clay actually on our access point here, because it does turn to clay as soon as we get down in this clean out, which is a good sign. And this does look like clay line going and so I'm going to have to pause the video and go close my truck. Okay, I apologize for that. I had a pop-up shower come in and my truck was open. And so it does look like this is clay, which is very good for the age of this house. Having clay underneath the floor. And so clay is a lot better than cast iron as far as longevity. And then once we got past where the clay comes out, it turns into concrete. You can actually see some exposed aggregate there. That's how you can tell it's concrete. It's got, the rocks and stuff as the years go by, they kind of wash away the layer of concrete. Concrete is another really good material. Usually does really well at keeping root intrusion out compared to clay lines on the exterior, but it's a weird combo, especially for this age of house, to use clay under the floor in the house and concrete outside, and not just using either clay all the way out, or even it's actually not normal for them to have used clay inside the house from this era. This is would have been more expensive, most likely, and in my opinion, it's a lot better option to have clay inside under the floor rather than using cast iron, due to the fact that cast iron does rust. And so clay on the inside is a lot better option. And so far, the exterior line, the concrete, looks great. What we're looking for normally with concrete, it holds up pretty good. Normally, really the only major defects we usually see is if the ground has shifted a lot and you get some cracks in it, because obviously it is hard and so it can be brittle, and sometimes some root intrusion. But usually, concrete, the way that they pack the joints with the tar or rubber, usually holds out tree roots very well. And so in this case, it looks like this is in really, really good shape. So I'm assuming, based off of the materials used, that this was probably a very expensive neighborhood, higher-end neighborhood when this was built in the 60s. These materials are on the higher end of what they would normally use for the time period, like I mentioned earlier. And so once we get all the way out to the main, I'm going to run some water in the stationary tub, and we'll watch to see how it acts. And so you can see some stuff running out here. I am going to ask also that someone flush the toilet upstairs, just to verify that this is the sanitary. Not only because it's so clean, I did see some toilet paper in there, so I'm 90% sure, and we do have flow here, but it is raining. But these houses also have a secondary tap for storm. They have two lines that exit. This neighborhood is the only one that I've ever seen where there are interior storm lines that go out into the storm main and tie in, similar to how a sanitary setup is installed. They ran a separate line out of the house and tied into a storm main out in the street, where it would carry their downspouts and any of the area drains around the house out directly to the storm main, instead of to the surface, or in some cases back to the sanitary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back a hair. We are going to ask that they flush a toilet upstairs and make sure that the line is coming through this way. Because with it raining, as I said before, I don't want this to be, for some reason, that we are in the wrong line. So I'm going to pause the video here and ask them to flush the toilet. Well, I thought so, but for some reason the monitor is not responding here. So we'll just go ahead and ask them and see how it. Just go see if they'll flush real quick and see if maybe everything's tied in. Chris? That dad needs to get out. All right, so we flushed the toilet, and so we're just waiting for that to show up down there. And there we go. There. So, and it's just to verify, to make sure that the again, just to make sure that we are in the right line, because it doesn't smell at all either. So everything is running wide open and looking good. So we'll pull back. We'll continue recording on the way back, but I'm going to pause the video for a second to go make sure that everything is turned off upstairs. All right. So we've verified that that is the sanitary. Just wanted to do that to make sure, because like I mentioned, this is a well-built neighborhood, a small section of a neighborhood anyway, and there's only a few streets that were done this way in this time period right here, and so this is, in my opinion, it's a very well-built system. And so, and the lines look like they're in great shape. I didn't see any issues with the line at all. You can also tell by the lack of solids and like toilet paper or stuff like that that's tied in here that we've seen in the line, that the water is escaping well. Normally, it's a good indication of how well the sewer line has dropped. If you look at the lower left-hand corner, you'll see an angle indicator, and that just shows that we're, what kind of angle of drop that the line has. And so minimum is about 1%. It's about a foot. It's an eighth of an inch per foot, which is roughly 96 feet, or a foot of drop every 96 feet of length. And so roughly, a foot every 100 feet. Roughly 1%. And a lot of these down here you're seeing on average, on average well over that. And so that's what you're looking to find. It just shows that the water would escape and carry all the solids. You don't want too much where the water travels faster than the solids and it takes a lot more to carry it. You don't want too little, obviously, or it's flat and you have water sitting in spots and possible solids collecting that way. Back in the house and coming up to the clean out. This has kind of a double drop here. It drops off when it goes down through the footer, so it comes in through the house high with the clay. So we are back out into the drum. So everything looked great. No issues whatsoever. I didn't find any defects in the line at all, especially for its age. This line's in great shape, so nothing to really report, which is always good to see. So that'll end the inspection at 4669 Largo Drive, and I believe this is Blue Ash or Kenwood, Cincinnati, Ohio.